Hi everyone, Sailor Moon here, and Saturn here, and today we're going to talk about the cleaning of my show. Now, a lot of Sailor Moon followers, or at least I guess drawing film or drawing show followers out there, have a belief that my show was the only show that ever was cleaned before going to the settled land and the 4-1 Reichs. Well, that's not true. There have been many other drawing films and drawing shows who went through a clean before they got to where they were at. I don't need to bring up how Speed Racer or Speed Runner had gotten himself cleaned before he got to the 4-1 Reichs in the settled land, and he may have been one of the first of the drawing shows or the drawing films. We don't need to talk about other shows. Now these folks behave as if what they did clean out, they somehow behave as if it harmed the show in some way. First off, they bitched and rant about how names were shifted, about how Deke shifted the names. Well, Deke wasn't the first first ones to shift out names. And two, I don't think it was a big deal. I mean, you folks behave as if everyone in the 4-1 Reichs, speaks more than one speech. Now, some do, some don't. But the folks who were going to watch Sailor Moon in between 95 YL and the 4-1 Reichs in the settled land, most of them spoke English as a first speech. Alright? And very few folks would know Dawnlandish borrowed names. The names they might know more are mostly the Hebrew, the Greek, the Hebrew, the Hellenish, the Latin or the French borrowed names, or the Farsi borrowed names, more than they would know, Dawnlandish borrowed names. So, that wasn't a big deal. Another thing you made a big deal about were strike names being shifted, which once again, a lot of folks who never saw Sailor Moon wouldn't truly know what the strike names were, and shifting the strike names wasn't a big deal, but so you behave as if it was. Then you make a big deal about a bunch of other things that most folks wouldn't make a big deal out of. You made a big deal about about the folks that they casted to do the speaking for us. You're like, oh, the folks that Deke and CLOVERWAY chose to speak for us, that's not how I think the South should talk like. Well, I don't know what you thought we were going to talk like. I don't know if you wanted us to speak Dawnlandish English or something. I don't know what you wanted, but what you got you didn't like. And why make a big deal about that? I don't know. Yeah. Can I go now? Oh yeah, Sailor Saturn. You're right, Sailor Moon. They made a big deal about those things. Another thing they made a big deal of was how, when there was fighting on the show, how they cut some of the really, truly bad things out. And they made a big deal out of that as if somehow it, somehow besmirched the show or made the fighting, tracks of the show unwatchable, which is not true. But they made a big deal as if it was. Then here's another thing they got angry over. 3 followings becoming only 2 followings, which made them angry. Now, you folks, I don't know why 3 followings becoming 2 would make it be a big deal. But you made a big deal out of it. Oh, I'm angry because only because the last thing was 2 followings instead of 1. Why make a big deal out of that? I don't understand it. And when it comes to the unstraight, you folks bitched it to high heaven as if they were being handled badly. You got angry. You didn't like it that Zoisai became a woman, but I heard in other, I heard in other offshoots of Sailor Moon, like one in the Germish land, Zoisite was a woman too. Then you bitched about how Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune were, near kin. Why make a big deal out of that? And we already talked to you many times about why Deacon Cloverway had to do what they had to do. And you bitched about that. At the end of the day, I don't understand. You folks make out the Deacon Cloverway Sailor Moon out to be this unwatchable thing, as if it was, unless it made a sin or a misdeed against drawing shows or drawing films, which is bullshit. So at the end of the day, where did all this come from, and why be angry over it? Another thing you bitched about was the songs. Which, come on, did you really bitch about the songs? Yeah, I guess you did. Why they bitch about the songs, I don't know. I mean, you folks picked them. I think you folks are just nitpicking. I mean, and then you go out your way and behave as if, oh, well, the Dawnlandish offshoot, the one that all the other Sailor Moons offshooted from, and you behave as if Viz is the greatest one out there, but you spent your time bitching every other thing about Deke and Cloverway. Yeah, you're right. You want to go back, Sailor Moon? Yeah, you're right, Sailor Saturn. At the end of the day, it isn't a big deal you made out of it, but whatever grounds you did, you made a big deal, a bitching and ranting about all the cleanings and the shiftings that my drawing show went through when Deke had it and Cloverway had it. I don't know why you made a big deal of those things, but you did. And it's sad. I mean, you behave as if my drawing show was the only drawing show to ever be cleaned. And I just told you there are many other ones out there that were cleaned and still get cleaned. So making a big deal about names being shifted, strike names being shifted, stead names being shifted, which I don't understand why I made a big deal of that. A big deal about the speaking, about the show playing, which was mostly, folks speaking. And made a big deal about how some of the fighting was cut out. And he also made a big deal about how some of the wording was shifted around. How Deacon Cloverway did not let folks, they didn't say the same things that were said in the Toei and the Viz offshoot. He made a big deal about that. Now, I don't care. If you do have the right to bitch and rant about anything you want. But in my belief, I think it was just dumb. I think it was only dumb that you made big deal about those things. Yeah, I think so, Sailor Moon. I want to end this film. If you like this film, then follow us over here at Sailor Moon for Life. Watch the other film we made yesterday over here with Sailor Moon and, Sailor Mini Moon. I, Sailor Saturn, I, Sailor Moon, and I'll see you later. Bye.